Hey listeners, WasteExpo 2025 is back and bigger than ever, happening May 5th through May 8th in Las Vegas. Join the ultimate event for waste and recycling professionals to connect with industry leaders, explore the latest innovations, and take your business to the next level. This is your opportunity to network, learn, and discover solutions to drive your business forward. Register today at wasteexpo.com. That's WasteExpo.com. See you at WasteExpo 2025. Hello everyone and welcome to the Waste World Podcast. My name is Gage Edwards, here again with another session from WasteExpo 2024. This session is titled, Walking the Talk, How the Waste Industry Must Turn Sustainability Strategies into Action. Listen in as Tequila Smith leads this future-facing segment that examines the risks of climate inaction, the art of aligning ecologic and economic incentives, and the steps a solutions provider must take to make a powerful, long-lasting difference. Enjoy!
It's 8:30, so we will go ahead and get started. My name is Tequila Smith. I have the pleasure of serving as the Chief Sustainability Officer for ReWorld. We have a short video that'll kick off our session, and then we'll talk a little more after the video.
Covanta is now ReWorld, but this is more than just a name change. We've reimagined how we can transform waste into an invaluable resource, and we're leading the world in sustainable waste solutions. We reduce, reuse, recycle, and recover. We transform refuse into a resource so we can reimagine the future. We've expanded our geographic footprint through strategic acquisitions, grown our lineup of industry experts by 20%, and increased our transportation fleet to over 2,000 vehicles. ReWorld now has even more service lines with a deep focus on 5 key areas. Redirect 360 zero waste to landfill solutions redirect entire waste streams into sustainable outcomes. Rekiln Fuels engineered solutions transform unsalvageable materials into low-carbon fuels for the cement and lime industry. Redrop wastewater solutions treat and separate waters from contaminants for cost-effective reuse, recycling, or energy recovery. Remove Waste Logistics handle all aspects of the removal, transport, and disposal of waste materials. Recredit sustainable carbon offsets help businesses meet their emission goals through renewable energy credits derived from our operations. We are also enhancing our customer experience with an 800 number and an upcoming customer portal to provide seamless interactions. But even from here, we strive to improve our sustainable waste solutions to press forward and achieve new possibilities. Because at ReWorld, net zero is not the end. It's where the reimagining of a smarter, more sustainable world begins.
So as you can see, as of 2-3 weeks ago, we were Covanta, and now we're ReWorld. And so the opportunity that I'm really excited to talk to you guys about is not only that transition, but why me, someone who worked for a public utility for 25 years, decided 2 years ago that I would leave the world of utility and embrace the world of waste. So when you think about the transition from traditional waste solutions, right? You take your waste to the curb. Most folks, not in this room, but who don't work in our space, they really don't understand what happens. You know, your municipality comes, whether you're working for a private industry or this is the municipal solid waste that we're taking to our curb. What happens to it? Most people don't know. They start making the phone calls about 2 or 3 days after the waste is still there. It's not something that a lot of people keep front of mind. And so that's what we're going to talk about today, how sustainable waste solutions needs to be at the forefront of all that we do, regardless of our industry and regardless of the type of company that we work for. So when we think about ReWorld and our transition, we're on a strategic evolution, not only redefining our partnership with our customers, but redefining our partnerships with our communities. And so how do we do that? The first thing that we're going to talk about today is why we do what we do. climate. We're going to talk about climate change. We're going to talk about what ReWorld does for those 5 different solutions that we talked about. We're going to talk about how do we take those financial risks and turn it into possibilities. We're going to talk about 5 different areas that all of us, regardless of what our business is, we can look at those different areas and really drive home sustainability. We're going to talk about how do we make sustainability profitable and how do we make sure we keep our profits sustainable. And then lastly, we're going to talk about lessons learned. So with that, if you have a device, can you hold it up? Your iPhone, your Galaxy, whatever you have. So this is going to be an interactive conversation. There are going to be questions that go up. In order for you to participate with me, you have to scan the QR code. So can everybody take just a few seconds with your device and your camera to scan the QR code? Okay, so let's get started. When the questions come up, I'll cue you, and then Nicole, who is my right-hand woman, will help guide us through those questions. As the impacts of climate change become increasingly evident and market demands evolve rapidly, it's apparent that sustainability is essential in our business. While it may seem like a daunting task to integrate sustainability in our core business strategy, it really can be boiled down to 5 things. So if you have to go back and talk to your company about what you talked about, what we talked about today, here's a good opportunity. Aligning your financial strategies with the company's environmental strategies. 2, reassessing our value chains. 3, transparency and delivering results. 4, environmental justice. And 5, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Through WeWorld, we are committed to genuinely assisting our customers in addressing the significant environmental and social challenges today, while also helping them achieve their financial objectives. But in order to do so, we are in the materials management industry must embrace a transparent and rigorous approach to both our strategies, but not only our strategies, but the execution of those strategies. Okay, so here's your first opportunity to help participate. Our first question: how much is climate change costing us in the United States every year? So submit your answers. Nobody will be called out. Nobody will come check your phone, but Nicole will tell us how well we do as a team on answering the question.
Okay, the correct answer is 150 billion. About 27% of you got that correct. A lot of you actually thought it was 300 billion at around 40% of you in the room.
Thank you, Nicole. I think the gentleman on the front row was very excited. So you got the answer. You got the answer right. Great. Okay, so let's talk about the current landscape. So we heard the headlines. We hear them over and over again. Actually, there was a headline just last week about floods in Texas. So we've witnessed firsthand the devastating impacts of superstorms and catastrophic events that can all be traced back to climate change. These events aren't happening in some far-off country. They're happening right here in our homes. We see them in our backyards, from wildfires in Hawaii and California, harsh winter storms in Texas and in New England, and record-breaking heat waves from coast to coast. Extensive flooding has touched every corner of our country. So not only do they impact our communities, but they displace residences and businesses who are our customers, our employees, and our families. Since 1980, the United States has endured 378 winter and climate disasters, each causing at least $1 billion in damages, accumulating a staggering total of over $2.7 trillion. Just last year, in 2023, we faced an unprecedented 28 major weather events, resulting in almost $94 billion in damages. The impact of these disasters extend far beyond financial losses. They directly claim almost 500 lives and wreaked havoc on countless homes and communities. So regardless of what we think is happening with the climate, I think the data and the statistics are very convincing. While some people are still skeptical, this impacts our daily lives. Extreme temperatures can lead to various heat-related illnesses, which strains our healthcare system, increased costs for heating and cooling, but then also the burdens not only fall on our families, but also limit limits those that are already disproportionately disadvantaged. Okay, time for our next question. Which 3 countries are the top global climate polluters?
Okay, and our correct answers: India, United States, and China. And it looks like the majority of you did choose these.
So great job, team. So with that, we're here in the United States. We have identified the problem. So what do we do about it? So whether you are with ReWorld or not, the reason why you're in this room, you're connected to sustainable materials management in some way. So in light of escalating impacts of climate change, companies and communities are adapting. Communities of all sizes across our nation are grappling with the effects of climate change, and many of them are seeking ways in their everyday lives to make a difference. Whether it's a company or an individual, most folks are talking about how do we have a more sustainable economy. In the waste industry, we have an enormous task and responsibility to combat climate change. At ReWorld, we're on a journey to reimagine our world. So think about the video. We talked about reduce, recycling, reusing, reimagining waste. So for those of us in this room, we have an opportunity to take something that most of us take for granted and turn that into a valuable resource. We aim to provide transformative solutions that not only meet or exceed sustainability's objectives of our communities and our business partners, but also we focus on carbon negative outcomes we aim to set a new standard for waste management. So I want to review the 5 offerings that we talked about. You will see that there's a play on hence ReWorld, Redirect 360, our zero waste to landfill solution that a lot of our customers have been really excited about, right? So essentially our customers come to us and say, okay, I've seen your press releases, I've seen your rebranding, I have a lot of waste. What can you do with it? And so there's an opportunity for us to divert that waste and also provide customized solutions to these customers. Redrop, our advanced wastewater treatment division that employs cutting-edge technology to treat and reduce wastewater sustainably. So every year we recycle 280 million gallons of wastewater, which that's equivalent to 570 Olympic-sized pools. Thirdly, Rekill. This division is dedicated to an alternative fuel engineering, turning waste into energy using environmentally friendly solutions. So when you think about one of the toughest industries in the world, not just the United States, cement. We all use it. It's in this building, it's in most buildings where we work or where we have worked. There's an opportunity for us to take that industry and to decarbonize it. I would love to talk to you guys more about that. Remove, handling transportation and logistics. When you think about moving waste, there's a lot of compliance, there's a lot of permitting, where is it going, how long is storage? Again, something that we can talk about. And then lastly, recredit. Sustainable carbon offsets. So when you think about voluntary markets, a lot of companies have been doing that for a while, but we're introducing a more premium credit that provides a carbon negative offset. So at the core of building a smarter, more sustainable world, we need to align the needs of all people and companies to make sure that we are fighting the toughest problems to meet future demands. Undergoing the transition presents risk, but it's also about balancing environmental, social, and economic goals and not sacrificing the profit for economic, not sacrificing economic for social, and vice versa. So, third question. What percentage of U.S. adults believe that corporations should be responsible for the waste that they create?
Okay, so a lot of you thought it was 62%, but based on a poll that we conducted about around this time last year, actually 48% of U.S. adults believe corporations should be responsible for the waste they generate.
So let's think about that. If over 40% think the corporations are responsible for the waste, What does the other 60% believe? That there's a personal responsibility, right? And so that's why we have different color bins at the curb. That's why inside this room we have different color bins. That's why we have the cups that we can recycle that we're using for our water today. So next we'll talk about financial risk tied to weak sustainability practices, and we'll couple that with financial opportunities tied to strong sustainable practices. So what are those risks? Poor performance on sustainability and social issues could lead to both reputational and financial risk. Investors increasingly assess a company's value based on how effectively it manages environmental risk, which can disrupt supply chain and impacts the company's financial stability. So for all of our businesses, right, we want predictable, reliable earnings. So you think about those opportunities that could influence that negatively or positively. Suppliers anticipate environmental risk could cost them $1.3 trillion over the next 5 years, with an additional $120 billion burden potentially passed on to buyers. In the U.S., the adoption of new environmental policies is pushing businesses to more sustainable practices and compliance with stricter regulations. Failure to meet these standards can result in substantial fines, lawsuits, and reputational damages. Overlooking sustainability in human resource practices such as safety, equity, respect, inclusion can lead to high staff turnover and even trigger strikes, boycotts, or significant labor issues. And then lastly, neglecting community impacts could also provoke activism, potentially leading to legislation that impedes our businesses from succeeding. So those are all the risks, right? So let's talk about some opportunities if we take a moment to really assess how we're utilizing sustainability in our economic strategies. When we discuss environmental and social challenges, we tend to only look through the lens of risk management. However, there's a tremendous opportunity to integrate sustainability into our core business strategies, not just to mitigate risk, but to enhance operational efficiencies, drive revenue, and increase our profits. So listen to this stat. Companies that prioritize sustainability are better positioned to attract top talent, especially as millennials and Gen Z will comprise 72% of our workforce by 2029. So that is the majority of our incoming workforce. What is it about our business, our industry that makes us attractive? So I don't think there's a lot of college students about to graduate saying, I want to go work in waste. So what is it that's going to attract them to our business and our industry? It's the fact, if we go back to what we were talking about with climate change, what we do every day makes a huge impact to that climate change. So not only we need to learn about it, but we need to talk about it, and we need to talk to incoming talent about the work that we do. So I had a recent conversation with our Director of Government Relations. He shared with me that what drew him to ReWorld was how bold we are in our communities, how we fight for environmental justice, and that aligned with his personal moral standards around the work that he wanted to do. So yeah, he works on Capitol Hill, which a lot of people would argue that may not be the most noble job. But guess what? If you're not at the table, you're on the menu. If you're not talking proactively about your business, then someone else is talking about your business. And if you're at the table, you're making sure that you're telling your story in a way that you want it to be told. So when I think about our Director of Government Relations and what attracted him to ReWorld, that makes me think about how strong sustainable practices not only contribute to planet and profits, but also play a critical role in attracting and retaining dedicated and passionate employees. So when we align values and vision, just not for good conscience, it's good for our business. It's going to energize our team, and it's going to differentiate. So what if we're all trying to attract the same talent, right? So we have our booths outside, we're saying our company's great, but it's really the folks that believe what we're saying. And how do you make sure that the folks you're trying to attract believe what you're saying? Do you believe it? Does your HR team believe it? Does your talent recruitment team believe it? So we have to make sure that it's not only top down, but it's bottom up. So everybody that wears your brand believes in what we're doing and our fight for against climate change. Okay, so our customers are also paying attention to sustainability. Nearly 2/3 of Americans say they're willing to pay more for products that are known to be sustainable. Have you noticed a product 10 years ago, 5 years ago, that didn't have the recycling label, that didn't say that this box was made out of XYZ, now costs us a little bit more? Have you noticed that? Have you noticed that in stores where material is made from recycled material, there's a premium to that? So what does that tell us? That tells us that as a country, we're willing to pay a premium for doing the right thing. Investing in sustainability can also help combat rising operating costs, such as raw materials, reducing company expenses by up to 60%. This is why 3 out of 4 CEOs have incorporated sustainability in their business strategy, as well as, get this, 74% of the S&P 500. 74%. So I don't know if your company wants to talk about sustainability, if you guys talk about ESG, whatever acronym you use, but it's happening and we are at the front of this charge. So, quick poll. What sustainable practices are you doing in your everyday life?
Okay, so most people, 93%, try to properly recycle, and 87% say they carry a reusable water bottle. The good news is 0% in the nothing category.
Excellent. Integrating various factors into our business plan may not seem directly related to our economic objectives. But believe me, it does, and it impacts us in 2 major ways. Okay, so first, neglecting to incorporate these elements and failing to demonstrate resiliency to our key stakeholders can result in detrimental outcomes and financial losses. So think about your board, think about your executive leadership team, think about the value proposition of your company. What seems to be valuable is, are we being strategic about our decisions so that we're in the best possible financial position in years to come? And then secondly, it exposes our companies to increased risk by attracting scrutiny from investors, regulators, employees, and communities. So remember when we kicked off the chat, I said we're going to take a deep dive into 5 areas that regardless of what type of business we have, you all can take this back and talk to your teams about it. Every organization's approach to sustainability will look different depending on the issues that are material to the company and the industry. But at its core, sustainability is about identifying environmental and social risk and the opportunities to drive our business outcomes. So how can we move sustainability from a talking point and integrate it into our business for the best practice and generating positive outcomes? So, number 1, aligning financial strategies with environmental strategies. The fastest growing segment of the business credit market are loans that are tied to environmental benchmarks and sustainability-linked financing. Here's another stat for you. More than $681 billion of these type loans were made in 2021. Demonstrating to your investors that a company is serious about achieving sustainability goals through their business operations is critical. So think about that. Are you so serious about your sustainability goals that you're willing to link financing, your profitability, your livelihood of your company to your sustainability metrics? Second, reassess the entire value chain. Transitioning to a circular economy where materials are reused, recycled, or turned into energy creates a continuous cycle in which waste is eliminated, values are maximized, and regeneration occurs. So remember we talked about talent. What's your elevator speech to that recent college graduate why they should not only come work for your company, but why should they work in the waste industry? Are you recycling metals? Are you recycling wastewater? Are you reducing greenhouse gases? Whatever it is, make sure that your company is taking that back and every employee can tie their daily work lives to helping to combat climate change. Third, transparency and delivering results. Be forthcoming about sustainability goals and hold yourselves accountable by providing and sharing the measurement of your sustainability results. So if you decide, okay, we're going to do sustainable linked financing, what are those metrics? Have you hit them? Are you going to hit them? And can you drill down? What facility, what vehicles, what states, what geographies? In our sustainability report, we annually report out on milestones, key metrics, and progress against those goals. So we just released our latest sustainability report on Earth Day, and I encourage you to read it. It's on our website, it's on our LinkedIn. We're very proud of it. And you can meet us at booth 3309 if you want to hear more about that. Fourth, environmental justice. Leaders in sustainability must address what's happening in our communities. So I'll give you an example. We have quite a few facilities that are in EJ communities. We don't hide from it. We are very involved in those communities. And honestly, a lot of the folks that work at the company today wasn't there when these plants were permitted. But we're proud of the work that we do. We live in these communities and we serve them. And so I will tell you what the key to Reworld has been doing. We listen more than we talk. We have public hearings and we listen. And if you want to be better as a company or an industry, it's going to be tough at times. You're going to hear things. The people are going to tell you you're not great. You should do better. But I'll tell you at Reworld, we've become more comfortable being uncomfortable. We want to hear the not so great because that's what's going to make us better. And believe you me, we do hear it. But all of those communities will tell you over the past few years, they've seen a dramatic uptick in the number of involvement, the number of hours that we're involved, and we show up in places not where necessarily we want to go, but where we're asked to go.
Hey listeners, WasteExpo 2025 is back and bigger than ever, happening May 5th through May 8th in Las Vegas. Join the ultimate event for waste and recycling professionals to connect with industry leaders, explore the latest innovations, and take your business to the next level. This is your opportunity to network, learn, and discover solutions to drive your business forward. Register today at wasteexpo.com. That's WasteExpo.com. See you at WasteExpo 2025.
So I'll give you a few examples of how we're actively participating. Reworld regularly partners with communities where we work and operate. We've done pop-up grocery stores to provide food in places like Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Chester. Why is that important? Why would a sustainable materials management company host a pop-up grocery store? A lot of the communities where we operate, they're what we call food deserts. So you can't find fresh vegetables. You don't have your pick of the type of milk that you want. You don't have your pick of the type of bread that you want. So one thing I want to brag about our CEO and our board, when I joined, we talked about being ingrained in the community, being partners. And sometimes that means showing up in a way that we haven't done before. And so we found a partnership with a company called Goodr, Goodr. And Goodr goes around the US and they allow the community to sign up. You don't drink 2% milk, you can sign up for almond milk. You don't eat white bread, you can sign up for wheat bread. It's about showing up and giving options, right? So one of the things that we've really focused on at Reworld is we're moving away from the word partner, because partner assumes that both parties are equal. And what we found is that that is not the case. So now we use the word allyship. Allyship means that there may be some disproportionate aspects of the relationship. And so that means as an ally, you do more. You do more than what's expected, and you make sure it's something that's sustainable, right? So when you think about a pop-up grocery store, yeah, they come in and they move out, but what else can we do? We fill backpacks over the summer to make sure that the students in the schools have food for the summer, right? We have sustainable scholarships, so they're just not one time. So we also have job training, right? We have job training in tech schools, we have job training in high school, and we follow those students until one, they come and work for ReWorld, or if not, we make sure that they're ready for whatever industry in which they want to work. And then lastly, which has been a hot topic over the past month or so, DE&I. So whether we coin it, whether we talk about it, whether we put it on the website, whether we give a speech about it, here's the bottom line for DE&I. Employees want to be seen, heard, respected, valued. So whether we coin it, regardless of what we say, if employees that we're trying to recruit, if they don't see themselves in your company, if your community that we serve don't see themselves in your company, then we're not winning. Okay, so the last part, the future of sustainability. As I mentioned before, and you heard on the video, we're building a smarter, more sustainable world to continue helping business and communities transform the most complex waste issues. So remember, we talked about cement kilns. How do we take that and promote positive environmental solutions and couple that with positive economic solutions? So what I'll tell you, one of the reasons why we're so excited about our rebrand is because almost everybody, whether you're in waste or not, they always talk about reduce, recycle, reuse. So what I challenge you guys to do is add another RE, reimagine. Reimagine if all of us would take waste, something we don't think about, and figure out how to make it valuable for all of our industries. We create and deliver customizable waste solutions for our customers. So when we talk about leveraging our technology, we're not just talking about it from a certain type of waste stream. We're talking about all types of refuse and to turn it into a resource, helping our businesses and communities solve problems. And let's not be satisfied with status quo, right? So if you look at your metrics and what we did last year, how do we make sure we do it better? So if you look at our sustainability report, we talked about how 97% of our waste is diverted from landfills. How do we do that? There's several ways you can do it. You can acquire companies, you can drive operational efficiencies, or you can do that, which is what ReWorld did, through both. Our new name, ReWorld, represents our commitment to innovation and a new vision for the future. So the goal for all of us in the room is, I don't know if we'll ever get to a place where college students, instead of saying, I want to be a doctor, I want to be an attorney, I want to be an engineer, I want to go work in waste. I don't know if that'll ever happen. But I will tell you that most of them want a job that affects climate change. So the charge for the folks in this room is, what is it about what you do every day that would attract the next set of college students? Do you have your elevator speech? If you run into a group of college kids and they say, what do you do? Are you gonna say, I run waste hauling business? Or are you gonna say, I'm reducing climate change by diverting waste? I take care of the world by doing XYZ. What's gonna be your speech? So here are some lessons learned as we wrap up. How did ReWorld get here? It has been a journey, and as I told you before, it's going to continue being a journey, and we're very comfortable being uncomfortable, right? So just when you think you got it, you don't got it. Whatever you think you're mastering, you don't have it. Think about your iPhone. When we first bought the iPhone, you used your fingerprint. Then you touched the side. Then you used your face. One day we won't use any of that. So while you feel like you might be in a good place, just remember this is a continuous journey and that we're always learning. So lessons learned. Communicate with internal and external stakeholders. When was the last time you asked for feedback from your executive leadership team, from your board, from your employees? How do you feel about what we do? Do you like what we do? Do you understand what we do? Ask questions. Secondly, develop a strategic data-based roadmap. Base your sustainability strategy on data that you have. Depending on your industry, have you looked at your environmental impact reports? Have you ever ordered an environmental impact report? Do you know what an environmental impact report is? So it's essentially the way you run your business, how you run your business, taking waste from A to B, how does that affect the climate? Empower employees to take ownership of the mission. Employee buy-in is critical. When employees have input into developing the sustainability roadmap, you've already have ambassadors, right? So if your CEO announces we're going to do XYZ by 2050, how do our employees feel about that? Do they believe it? Do they know the role they play to get to this roadmap? Lastly, set measurable goals and key performance indicators, right? So ReWorld is owned by a private equity firm. We eat, sleep, and breathe KPIs. It is in everything that we do. Why? Because what gets measured gets done. And I will tell you, a lot of corporations don't want to advertise their metrics. You don't have to, but you can have internal metrics for your leadership team, for your internal business unit team. But think about that. What gets measured gets done. So think about what's important to your business, what's important to your company. What are 3 to 5 metrics that are going to keep us on task? Okay. Let's turn to Slido one more time to see what we are doing at home. Is there one more, Nicole, or did I skip it? Are you already doing any of these lessons learned?
Okay, so it looks like about 72% of you in the room you guys are already setting KPI and setting measurable goals. Also, something that's tied at 65% is communicating with your stakeholders and then also empowering employees.
That's really good news. So, in closing, there's an opportunity for us to look at our financial strategies and partner those with our environmental strategies. We evaluate the risk, but we also seek out the opportunities. Do we want our company and our industry to remain relevant? Absolutely. Do we want to remain competitive? Absolutely. So how do we do that? We make sure that we have these coupled. We make sure that we're seeking feedback, and we make sure that we have our elevator speech for the next group of talent. So, as sustainability becomes an ever more important measure of business success, developing an effective strategy in lockstep with your financial goals can help a company's reputation, help us reduce risk, and give us a competitive advantage for long-term success. Your investors, your board, your leadership is looking for us to move beyond short-term success and fully demonstrate that we're looking around the corner. So depending on your business and your company, looking around the corner could be 6 months, it could be 12 months, it could be 5 years. But my challenge and my charge to you today is to make sure that we're not only looking at our sustainability strategies, but we're incorporating them into our decisions. Okay, so with that, we have a QR code that has an ebook on all the strategies that we talked about today. You may use your phone to download the ebook. And then I am also supposed to tell you to fill out the evaluation form. So before you line up to ask questions, fill out the evaluation form so that we can make sure that we are talking through the topics that you want to hear for the next WasteExpo. And that's all from me. I would love to take your questions.
We have some questions that were sent in via Slido's Q&A. The first one is, do you think domestic automated food production could solve the food desert problem in some of our communities?
Yeah, let me answer it this way. I think in order to solve our food desert issue, it's going to take more than one solution. So let's take that a little deeper. For all of these opportunities, there has to be an investment. And candidly, it can't all come from the municipality. It can't all come from the private industry. So I think one of the things that we do well is that we partner with the communities to have not only focus groups, but we ask the communities to elect a leadership roundtable to help us decide what are our short-term goals and what are our long-term goals. And so a lot of people in environmental justice communities, they're not focused on the facilities. They're focused on things that we tend to take for granted. their livelihood, their jobs, their food. So that's a long answer to absolutely, but it's more than just one solution, right? Even if we have automation, who's going to pay for it? Who's going to work it? Who's going to show up? How do we get the word out? And who's ultimately responsible? I would tell you that the more we empower our communities, the better off the communities will be, but we have to be there to set up the framework.
Sustainability atmosphere currently, like any examples?
Absolutely. So I want to shout out some of our partners. So I think the companies that are doing well are moving beyond status quo, right? So as I mentioned, sometimes it takes a little extra premium to move from what you've been doing in the sustainable materials management area to step it up a little bit. And so there are a lot of beverage companies that do that well. They're on constant attack around plastics and what to do with those plastics. And so we partner with them. We partner with a few airlines around the cleaning of their planes and their tires. But I'm really proud of all the buzz we're seeing with the cement industry. They get beat up a lot, and it's really hard to tackle their problems. But what I'm most proud of them about is that they are taking initial steps to decarbonize the industry, and they're looking for partners that are willing to walk that journey with them. So I do feel like there's no silver bullet to tackle these problems, but I give credit to those companies that are willing to go the extra mile to do the right thing. So not necessarily shouting out one particular brand, but I do feel like there are industries that are taking it very seriously. Thank you. Mm-hmm. So most people don't think about it, but there is an energy production that takes place in cement kilns. And right now, that energy production is produced from coal and gas. So we have an opportunity, we through some acquisitions where we take an alternative engineered fuel. So think about just really nasty waste that can't be recycled. So maybe contaminated plastics or things of that nature, something that needs to be shredded more into a finer grain. We can use that as fuel, and it's significantly less greenhouse gases than traditional gas and coal. So we've partnered with a few in the Northeast, and we actually have a few people in here that can talk about a little bit more than me that will be at booth 3309 later today. But it's an opportunity to use waste as the fuel opposed to natural gas and coal. Do you have a question?
Yes. My name is Michaela, and as a college student, I was wondering, what is ReWorld doing for recruitments?
So if you guys may think back in the summer of 2020, when a lot of corporations were thinking about how can we do more, particularly in our tech schools and our HBCUs, I'm proud to say that ReWorld continues to partner for schools that haven't traditionally had a trajectory into sustainability. So we have internships, but we specifically go into HBCUs and tech schools and partner them with not only some of our senior leaders, but we partner them with some of our frontline employees to make sure that that transition makes sense for them and that they have like this long-term plan to come and work for us. Secondly, we're doing things like this to attract talent and to really tell our story. So hopefully one day when folks are checking the box about where they want to go into industry, maybe one day they'll say ReWorld or sustainable waste management. Thank you.
So we have a lot of submitted questions, but I just wanted to mention that our booth is 3907. So if anybody, that's okay. If anybody wants to come by the booth later, 3907.
Thank you.
Here's a question from Slido. How seriously are U.S. manufacturers taking sustainability right now? How important is it when choosing their supply chain?
You know, I think that's a great question. I think we're going to see the full spectrum, and we'll continue to see the full spectrum as we move forward. But I think conversations like this, particularly if you take me up on the charge and take it back to your corporations and really start asking the question. So here's the real deal. Manufacturing, we are seeing a shift, but there's a premium to our services. But for the companies that want to stand out and want to differentiate, we now have certifications with the sustainable private credits. We have certifications with most of those service offerings. And so it's a bragging right. You know, I think if you think back 10, 20 years ago, everybody was racing toward net zero 2050. A lot of companies have decided, okay, we probably can't get there, or they determine we can't get there. So what else can we do? And they call us for the what else, because it's not just energy. It's not just like scope 1, scope 2. There are other serious issues around sustainability. And so we get a lot of attention. We, as in our industry, get a lot of attention because corporations are now looking at their whole process, not just energy production, but they're looking at, can I use a more recycled material? What can I extract from this waste stream? What if I have various waste streams? So they partner with us because they don't have the solutions. So we sit with them. We even have employees that sit on site at industrial plants to help customers figure out their day-to-day opportunities with waste. And you guys may remember a few years ago when a lot of the investment firms were writing articles and white papers around sustainability and what it means for business. And then we saw a shift, right? And then the political climate change, and we saw another shift. So what I would encourage us to do is really think about self-identification, right? So regardless of who's in office on the state, local, federal level, what's our core DNA? What's our point of being here? So regardless of what happens in a political climate, we remain true to who we are, and so that we can continue to help our customers. We've been in meetings where we were walking into the meeting and said, oh, these folks don't like to talk about ESG. You can talk about sustainability, but you can't say ESG. Or vice versa. They want to hear about climate, they want to hear about XYZ, but don't say sustainability. And we can be adaptable in our messaging, but our core value remains the same. We're reimagining waste for better carbon negative solutions. So that's what I want to leave you guys with, to consider what's your elevator speech, and does everyone in your company know it?
I think we have time for just 2 more questions. I think this question might segue nicely into what you were just talking about. So a question from Slido is, currently at WasteExpo, there are competitors who may see your mission as counterproductive to their financial goals. How do you address this?
Oh, absolutely. We get asked that all the time, which goes back to, you have to define what your long-term strategy is. What are your stakeholders really focused on in the next 3 to 5 years? How do you align the financial opportunity with ESG? And that's why in those 5 focus areas, we didn't give you a step-by-step playbook. We gave you the framework, because now you have to go back and do the homework and talk to your leadership team, your board, and talk about who do we want to be and where do we want to be in 5 years? And what can we start doing today? Maybe it's a pilot with a group you've never piloted before. Maybe it's a collaboration of 2 or 3 different companies. Maybe you do it on a smaller scale. If it works, then you're looking at it 3 to 5 years, and then you deploy it across your entire fleet. But I do feel like the small actions that we're taking today will turn into larger opportunities for all of our businesses in the future.
Okay, and last question is, are large companies really willing to pay more for sustainable waste options? Absolutely.
I don't think I'd be employed. Paul wouldn't be employed because it is a premium. But if you think about the choices we make, whether we're ordering, shipped or we're ordering Amazon, there is a premium that comes with a certain stature of sustainability. And absolutely, companies are willing to pay that. They want to differentiate themselves from the rest. You have to find where that balance is. I don't think, they're willing to double the price or triple the price of what they're paying for sustainable waste solutions, but there is a sweet spot, and it takes some negotiation, and it takes a lot of education. So I feel like if we walk out of this room and we start having those conversations today, who knows, by December, next year this time, we've had more collaborations and more partners that are willing to take that next step. So thank you for your time. Please fill out the evaluation form. I have to say that at least twice. Thank you for your attention today, and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Hey listeners, WasteExpo 2025 is back and bigger than ever, happening May 5th through May 8th in Las Vegas. Join the ultimate event for waste and recycling professionals to connect with industry leaders, explore the latest innovations, and take your business to the next level. This is your opportunity to network, learn, and discover solutions to drive your business forward. Register today at wasteexpo.com. That's WasteExpo.com. See you at WasteExpo 2025.